Hello there, very good evening and welcome. This is Wednesday's edition of Primetime News. I'm Joel Outschoon. A very good evening, Nino.
Hi, good evening, Joe. Good evening to you all. Let's take a look at our headlines.
Sherry Atchison reunited with her mother after 26 years. Cabinet subcommittee finds CPC heads responsible for the petrol crisis. Petition filed with Court of Appeal against the Gazette on local government elections. Gamini Senarath and two others returned to remand custody.
Sherry Atchison is one of the most influential women in technology in the UK. This high-powered, high achiever was born in Sri Lanka and given up for adoption to her Irish parents 15 days after birth. This is the heartwarming moment. Sherry was reunited with her birth mother and the story that led to it.
Sherry arrived at the Newsfirst headquarters early this morning. She thought she was going to be interviewed and had no idea she was going to meet her birth mother for the first time.
Sherry, let me very briefly ask you, if you are to be reunited with your birth mother at this very moment, just describe for our viewers, what would it be like?
It would be kind of overwhelming because I haven't planned to meet her right now.
Of course.
But definitely amazing all at once. I can't really, there's no words that can describe the kind of emotion when it's not like getting married, it's not like moving house, it's something that you can't plan for. It's so abstract that it's very, very difficult to plan
Sherry,
for.
a mother's love is indescribable. You can't put it in words. And no matter how old we are, sometimes we feel overwhelmed by these feelings.
What Sherry was not prepared for was about to happen.
This is the moment that Sherry Atchison is being reunited with her birth mother.
Help your eyes.
Asking for forgiveness?
She doesn't need forgiveness. I can't. I personally think she gave me the life I have now. I have such a fantastic life, and I have a husband, and I have an amazing mum and dad as well, and now a birth mum too, and she does not need forgiveness, and she does not need to say sorry.
It was about a month ago that Sherry requested Newsfirst to support her quest in locating her birth mother. Newsfirst took up the challenge and Sherry entrusted us with documents including a birth certificate and a picture given to the Irish couple that adopted her. When the documents were compared with hospital records, the information was false. Highly sensitive information given to Newsfirst was not broadcast. The details were key facts that would help identify the true mother. From the day Newsfirst broadcast the report, we received numerous calls from women claiming to be Sherry's mother, but proved to be imposters. Until 2 weeks ago when Newsfirst received a phone call that would change everything. The woman we found in Gampaha bore many similarities to the photograph given to Newsfirst by Sherry. Sherry was constantly kept updated of these developments. During the course of the investigation, Newsfirst had to investigate various avenues of information, and there were many unnamed individuals who supported us in this quest. We then began to analyze and compare the unaired key facts surrounding Sherry's adoption and the information given to us by this woman claiming to be her mother. Finally, the decision to conduct a DNA test was made for a definitive verification of any relationship between the two women. The DNA sample of a woman named Tingiriamma was obtained by the Colombo North Teaching Hospital staff and sent to the UK's Alpha Bio lab. There was a 99.9% compatibility in the DNA results. To us at Newsfirst, the opportunity to report on inspiring stories of hope and triumph like this is a privilege. Many people supported us in untold ways in order for Cherie to be reunited with her mother. A heartfelt thank you to each of you.
Indeed, a heartwarming story there this evening for you. If you missed out on the story, simply log on to our website www.Newsfirst.lk. Moving on to more news. Now, the third Universal Periodic Review of Sri Lanka at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, Switzerland is currently underway. The Sri Lankan delegation that is attending the session is being led by Deputy Minister Harsha De Silva and includes senior officials from the Foreign Ministry, Attorney General's Department, as well as senior officials of the President's Office.
Investigations into allegations pertaining to human rights and humanitarian law violations during the conflict are unfortunately misperceived by some in my country as specifically targeting the security forces, which is completely erroneous. As the President of Sri Lanka recently stressed, security forces will not be unfairly targeted or punished, but we are committed to investigations being carried out in respect of violations of the law through judicial processes respecting due process. Sri Lanka has accomplished much, yet we do not consider it a reason to be complacent. Neither are we, as some tend to allege, indifferent or uncaring about human rights. Unfortunately, each step taken to reconcile the nation and acknowledge the legacies of our difficult past is contested. Our efforts to protect and promote human rights are often attacked by opponents as inviting foreign interference. Our efforts to ensure harmonious relations between the different ethno-religious communities and our commitment to constitutional reform are often attacked by opponents as attempts to create divisions. Yet, we persevere with strong determination. It is for this reason that we have sought to tread cautiously and prudently with a view to building and sustaining national consensus on the importance of protecting and promoting human rights and advancing reconciliation. As a nation, we have been through much strife for long years. At this historic moment, when the two main political parties are working together, we want to ensure that we tread cautiously to take steps that would ensure that the reform that we initiate is sustained in the long term.
Germany welcomes the overall positive development with respect to human rights in Sri Lanka since 2015 in general, and in particular the recent establishment of the Office of Missing Persons. Germany encourages Sri Lanka not to lose momentum in fulfilling all its commitments made in HRC Resolution 30/1, including those on transitional justice.
Canada acknowledges steps taken by Sri Lanka to strengthen the independence of the Human Rights Commission, institutionalize the Office of Missing Persons, and its cooperation with UN mechanisms. Much work remains, however, on accountability, transitional justice and reconciliation.
India commends Sri Lanka for its commitment to finding solutions to national issues, including complex post-armed conflict challenges of peace and reconciliation. We are happy to note that there are several encouraging developments on the issue of resettlement of IDPs, rehabilitation of ex-combatants, demining of land and reconstruction activities, especially in the northern province of Sri Lanka. India believes in a meaningful devolution of powers, building on the 13th Amendment, and hopes that Sri Lanka will take necessary action to take this political process forward.
A report out today finds the heads involved in procuring, storage and distribution at the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation should be held accountable for the fuel shortage which caused island-wide mayhem last week. Recommendations have been made to appoint 3 technical officers to identify the responsible individuals.
A cabinet subcommittee comprising of ministers Dr. Sarath Amanugama, Anura Priyadarshana Yapa, Partili Champika Ranawaka and Arjuna Ranathunga were appointed to look into last week's petrol shortage. Presenting their report at the cabinet meeting yesterday, the subcommittee said failure to store fuel to the maximum capacity of its holding terminals was the main cause for the crisis. The report further revealed that at the point of rejecting the IOC fuel shipment on the 17th of October 2017, stocks at storage terminals and pumps were sufficient for 24 days. The report says, while existing stocks were sufficient until the 10th of November, it is unclear as to how it transformed into a crisis within the first week of November. According to the report, CPC officials had informed the Cabinet Subcommittee that an SMS informing of a possible petrol shortage had caused a sudden hoarding of petrol and an unusual topping up by consumers, resulting in a high consumption of fuel. The report attributes the crisis to the failure of not maintaining minimum stocks, not informing authorities of the severity of the situation, not having a mechanism to face such an emergency, not having secure stocks, and the absence of a long-term transparent procurement procedure. It also raises questions on the inaction to increase the storage capacity of the CPC and the non-implementation of a program to store petrol stocks in the available capacity. The Cabinet Subcommittee report contains 8 recommendations to prevent a recurrence of a crisis of this nature. Follow modern methods to maintain stocks. Identify and find solutions to the high cost and unsuccessful procedures of fuel storage and distribution. Create long-term and transparent procurement agreements. Introduce a system to supply fuel during emergency situations through government-to-government agreements. Increase the storage capacity at Muthurajavela. Introduction of a mechanism to reduce consumer expenditure. Increase the capacity of the Sapugaskanta oil refinery. And resolve the issues surrounding the Trincomalee oil tanks. Can you believe that a critical institution like the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation was not functioning under a proper procedure? Are the Ceylon Electricity Board, Norochale Coal Power Plant, Sri Lankan Airlines and National Water Supply and Drainage Board also being run the same way? Is it not the time for these matters to be disclosed through an audit?
The Cabinet Subcommittee report on the petrol crisis was also discussed at the weekly Cabinet meeting briefing.
Minister Arjuna Ranatunga made a request yesterday as well to appoint a special committee to look into the responsible officials. It is the officials who have been mainly mentioned. It has been proposed that an investigative committee consisting of 3 officials with technical knowledge be appointed to recommend measures against them. We believe this committee would start work immediately. The minister made a special request to the President to launch an investigation to ascertain those responsible.
මුලින්ම කිව්වා මේකට මේ අර්බුදයට හේතුව IOC එකයි කියලා. එතකොට මේ IOC එකේ අයිතිදාරින්ගෙන් මේ පරීක්ෂණයට කොයි විදිහේ දායකත්වයක්ද ඒගොල්ලන්ගෙන් කොහොමද මේ පරීක්ෂණයට ලක් කරලා තියෙන්නේ උදේ? නෑ රජයේ විදියට බොහොම
No, as the government, the Prime Minister has very clearly said IOC is not involved here because IOC holds a market share of just 16% while the rest is handled by the CPC. Also, pointing the finger at IOC before solving all the issues at CPC is not what should be done. The President also told this committee, just like it presented this report, to carry on for another 2 weeks and draw up proposals to face such a situation.
And moving on to some news from courts this evening, a petition was filed before the Court of Appeal today seeking an order nullifying the Gazette notification with regards to holding the local government elections. The petitioners say this contains recommendations which are in contravention of the original recommendations of the Delimitation Committee.
The Demarcation Gazette notification was issued by the Minister of Local Government and contains recommendations made by the subcommittee appointed by the Minister. The petition was filed by 6 votes representing Colombo, Kandy, Harliala and Mathura.
From the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's Chief of Staff Gamini Senarath and 2 others alleged to have misappropriated public funds were returned to remand custody today. The suspects were produced before Fourth Magistrate Lanka Jayaratna.
Neil Bandara Hapuhinna and Piyadasa Kudabalage were returned to remand custody along with Gamini Senarath. The trio are charged with illegally obtaining a sum of 4 billion rupees from a sum of 18.5 billion rupees allocated for the Grand Hyatt Hotel development project in Kolpiti in 2012 and using that money for the Hyatt Regency Hotel development projects in Hambantota. Attorneys appearing for the suspects produced applications for bail and those applications would be considered on the 21st of November. Former Minister Mervyn Silva was also present in court today. I am here to see an exceptional associate called Gamini Sinarath. I hail from the Sedura family in the south. It is too early for me to comment on the local government polls. Just because you give the eggs to hen, the chicks will not come out. We will speak on that at the appropriate time.
Avantgarde has filed a case with the Colombo District Court seeking a sum of 2.4 billion rupees that it incurred as losses following the Sri Lankan Navy taking possession of one of its vessels.
Avantgarde notes on the 13th of November 2015, when its vessel was anchored at the Galle harbour, a group of Navy personnel citing an order from the Navy headquarters had taken possession of the vessel that is in violation of the government laws. The Attorney General, Chief of Defence Staff, Admiral Ravindra Vijayagunaratne, former Navy Commander Rear Admiral Travis Sinnaya, and the present Commander of the Sri Lankan Navy, Rear Admiral Sri Mevan Ranasinghe, have been named as respondents.
At present, there are several questions surrounding the operations of Avantgarde during the former regime and also regarding its floating armoury that have gone unanswered.
What's the exact number of weapons that were taken over by security forces from the vessel that was owned by Avantgarde? Reports surfaced the serial numbers of some weapons seized by the security forces had been erased and some weapons did not have a serial number at all. Has the government analyst prepared reports on the legality of the weapons and the ammunition that were handed over to the Criminal Investigations Department more than 2 years ago? If not, what is the delay in the investigation? It was said that the floating armoury was a threat to national security and the security forces led by the Sri Lankan Navy surrounded the vessel, arrested several people and seized the illegal weapons and ammunition. Following these events, was the law enforced in a proper manner? The present government of good governance claimed the operations and the floating armoury of Avantgarde were illegal and promised to carry out an extensive investigation along with bringing those accountable before the law. For your attention.
You're watching Primetime News. Still in news, you're at home. Now, Chief Opposition Whip MP Anurukumara Dissanayake raised questions in Parliament today on the issues faced by sugarcane farmers.
I would like to draw the attention of this House on the crisis situation faced by sugarcane farmers in Sevanagala, Palwata and Hingurana areas. Who would answer this question, Leader of the House?
Minister is not here, baby. I'll inform the minister.
I will inform the minister. He is not here today. The response has not arrived.
Well, the response should be there. I have informed the minister as well. To date, it has been over 25 days since the sugarcane farmers in Sevanagala have been engaged in a continuous satyagraha. The sugarcane farmers have begun to feel immense pressure on the Palwata and Sevanagala companies. Even if they sell their harvest for that year, it would not be sufficient to settle their loans. So they are eternally indebted to the company. The sugar farmers who yield their harvest with their sweat and blood do not get their fair share. So we would like to know if the government is doing anything about this.
This is leading to disaster. It is good the underutilized act was repealed because it gives the opportunity for foreign investors. We have no objection to that. I spoke to Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira about this matter going in reverse, and no, it is not happening. So even though this government has repealed this act, there is no decision to hand the Sevanagala Sugar Company back. It has been protected now. We always interfere to increase the prices of sugarcane for the sake of these 18,000 families.
The proposal is neither here or there. If you are certain that by repealing the underutilized act, Sevanagala would not be handed back to the Ayagamage, then it's good. It is essential that a proper salary as well as a proper price is given for a ton of sugarcane for the farmers to survive. Their livelihoods depend on this.
Today was day 5 on the debate of the second reading of the 2018 budget.
Last year, 188 had been set aside for Muslims considered as long-time IDPs. It was set aside from the Ministry of Resettlement under Minister Swaminathan. This time it has been allocated under the Ministry of Commerce. I wish to ask the Minister what is the connection between the two. The Ministry of Commerce had made an allocation for the shopping complex at the Manor bus stand. When I spoke to a minister who is seated in front, he told me the ministers have reached a deal among them. If there is any report on the claims that a deal has been reached, name that minister. You mentioned the minister and he must respond to that. I cannot respond to that. The proposal and the concessions that we have set aside for the North will not take place under the single ministry. Those are allocated according to the subject. So you can make allocations under the President or the Prime Minister. However, the issue is this. If the Minister of Health requests for the development of the Berula harbour, will you allocate it under that ministry? When we were making allocations this year, it was never done under any single ministry. It was allocated under the subject. If there is a personal matter, let us discuss it elsewhere.
On the 1st, we had a very important debate on the constitution, and during that debate I made a political explanation. A politician who was not pleased with that convened a media briefing the next day to sling mud at me and make false allegations. We will not walk on mud, we will walk on land. We have all the documents required for this. 6 years ago, in 2012, there was an issue with regard to substandard fuel at the CPC. The secretary back then, during my absence, acting as the chairman, had called for fuel to avoid a shortage. A chemical process had taken place within the storage tanks. This caused several vehicles to stall and filling pumps to malfunction. Compensation was paid after obtaining 55 million rupees from the supplier. On the 13th of November 2013, audit reports were sent to COPE and the Auditor General by then acting chairman. The report says, as the funds were obtained from the supplier, the country or the CPC did not incur any losses. I make it clear, do not do this any further. We are aware of the character of those who steer them as well. We are prepared to reveal everything as and when they are required. There may be shortcomings in this government. It is evident in any government. Just because of that, the people are not prepared to bring in those who are in government. This can be called a policy statement that goes beyond a budget. The reason is because when it is a budget, the aspiration is for the reduction of the prices of goods. Therefore, before the budget was announced, a kilogram of potatoes was reduced by 39 rupees. Sprouts were reduced by 10 rupees. A kilogram of dal was reduced by 12 rupees. A kilogram of dried fish was reduced by 50 rupees. And a kilogram of coconut oil was reduced by 25 rupees. We allocated 1,500 million as concessions for the poor people. That cost was included in the budget. It pains when we speak about the reductions. Have you forgotten how we reduced the prices of diesel, petrol and kerosene? This is how you are. It pains when we speak of our initiatives. And a news from the President's Diary, the 75th anniversary of Pushpadana Girls' School, Kandy, was held under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena today.
Awards were presented to students who showcased exceptional performances in line with the anniversary celebrations. A commemoration stamp and a first day cover was issued to mark the school's 75th anniversary, which was presented to the President. There is a report in the front page of a newspaper today. It reads 8 people, including a newly wedded couple, a schoolgirl, a matchmaker, 3 people in Vennapur and a millionaire in Aturgiriya have committed suicide over the past 3 days. You may have heard and seen on the media of the suicides in our country. I think we rank either 3rd or 4th in the world in terms of suicide. Just as we show good results in an examination, we also have to understand and withstand the challenges and obstacles in society. Moreover, in those cases, there are numerous weaknesses in the solutions and programs given to either children or adults affected by these matters. This could be the cause for such incidents. Following the event, a group of representatives of the Wilgamu Unemployed Graduates Union presented the issues they faced to the President.
The British woman, who upon her visit to Sri Lanka was arrested and later deported from the country because of an image of a Buddha tattooed on her arm, has been awarded 800,000 rupees worth of compensation following a Supreme Court verdict.
The verdict was issued today following the hearing of a fundamental rights petition filed by the British national Naomi Coleman. The 3-judge bench, comprising Justices Eva Vanasundara, Anil Gunaratna and Nalin Pereira, ordered the 2 police officers who arrested the British woman to pay her an additional 50,000 rupees each as compensation and a further amount of 200,000 rupees. The British woman was arrested on the 21st of April 2014 and the case was filed against her arrest in May that year.
The 3rd edition of the Intex South Asia exhibition began in Colombo today under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
The event was graced by a number of ministers and dignitaries, including Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Taranjit Singh Sandhu.
We have brought in the new Foreign Exchange Act, replacing the Exchange Control Act. The Minister is presenting the anti-dumping bill as a counterweight to the liberalizing trade further. We are gradually removing the para-tariff. Ministry of Development Strategy and International Trade is working on the ease of doing business, which will come into being by early part of next year. There are many other legislation that is planned to remove further barriers to integration with the international. So we are now looking at the liberalization logistics of the airlines, of the shipping industry, how we can provide more petroleum. We are looking at an offshore financial sector. All these to go hand in hand with making Sri Lankan manufacturing and services competitive.
The Working Committee of the United National Party convened this afternoon. The meeting was chaired by UNP leader and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and was attended by the Working Committee members.
We had extensive discussions on the campaigning for the local government elections, our vision and process, as well as how we will protect the mandate given to us and how the law will be enforced against all those who have committed fraud and corruption. A media briefing was also called for to announce the decisions that were reached.
The proposals that we made include investigations on fraud and corruption as well as commitment to penalize those accountable. We focused on delaying the time it takes to address crime. Serious crimes be taken to the Supreme Court and a legal amendment to make provision for one appeal only. This will pave the way for a trial at bar comprising of 3 High Court justices to hear cases on corruption. In addition, we will establish a separate unit within the Attorney General's Department that will be accountable to the Attorney General. Approval was given to raise the number of senior state councils from 118 to 218. Laws will be drafted to increase the number of High Court judges to 110. We hope to act quickly on matters related to crimes, and those were the decisions reached by the Working Committee.
A walk took place in Colombo yesterday demanding the 25% female representation at local government elections to be ensured.
The walk, which commenced from the Viharamadevi Park in Colombo, concluded at the Independence Square. Minister Faisal Mustafa was among those present along with Chandrani Bandara, Sudarshini Fernando Pulle and Hironika Premachandra.
And making the illustrated headlines tonight is our resident cartoonist, Asanga Laduahetti.
Well, on that note, we wrap this edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for stopping by. It was a pleasure to have you with us this evening. I'm Joel Outscoon.
I'm Nanel J. Wardner, and have a good night.
Good night.